Hey guys, I'm back. I'm making this follow-up video from the first video I made about something that happened to me while I was sleeping. Very interesting experience that I had, and I wanted to follow up with it. So if you've seen the first video, you'll remember that at the end of the video, I was talking about this conversation I had with my wife. And it was about the saying sweet dreams, like when you say sweet dreams to someone, and he got into the saying versus the actual having a sweet dream. And you watch the first video and you can see all of that. Well, I'm here to tell you that I had some sort of experience of, I guess, a dream. I can't quite say it was a sweet dream, but like I said in the first video, it wasn't a bad dream or a weird dream. The best way I would describe this dream was that it was a lucid dream. Vivid, very clear. I understood everything. It wasn't so much that it was like bright or luminous. It was so clear, like the highest definition I've ever seen in my life. There's no 4K, 10K. This was an amazing experience. So I went to sleep kind of late last night editing videos. And then I woke up about maybe 6:10 this morning. And I couldn't go back to sleep. I was trying to go back to sleep. I'm not working right now. So I was trying to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. So I just kind of, I prayed, I checked the stock market, and I went on YouTube like I normally do. I'm subscribed to some channels. I watch their content and watch some videos on trying to, sharpen my craft. And then around 8:30, I started getting tired again. So my wife wasn't even up yet. So I'm like, I'm not going to sleep that long. I'll take another nap. It's maybe like an hour or so. And I guess it was from maybe 8:30-ish to like almost 10 o'clock, maybe 9:55 or something like that. I don't know where I was. So let me just tell you. So the beginning of the dream, it doesn't make sense to say. If people you guys don't know, whatever, forget the beginning of the dream. That's a whole nother part. But towards the end of the dream, I left someone's house. And what's weird about the dream is, in the dream, there were people who are already dead, but there were people who are still alive in the dream. So that was kind of weird also. But I left someone's house. I went outside, and let me tell you, it was amazingly clear. There was no sun, but there was light all around, but not a light. There was no source from where the light was coming from. That's a better way to explain it, right? So you couldn't look up and be like, that's the sun, so that's why everything's lit up. Everything was just lit up. But the objects, and let me sidebar real quick. I'm not one who's like bad with my words. I'm very articulate, but this experience is too hard for me to explain. So I'm sorry for the choppiness or me not being able to get out my words. There was just light, but it wasn't from a place or source. But it wasn't bright. It was just clear. And remember, like when I was talking about, like, I don't know what a sweet dream would be. Would it be like someone, walking through the field and the sun is out and the birds are singing? And, I was making fun of it because I didn't know what a sweet dream is. My idea would be something that Hollywood or Disney would make. This was nothing like that. It wasn't about it being sweet. It was about it being serene. It was about it being, so another thing was the awareness I had. I was fully aware of me being here, I guess. To the point, this was the first time I had ever done this in a dream. I looked down at my clothes. What am I wearing? Where am I? I was asking all of these very conscious questions, but I wasn't scared. So anyway, so I was walking down a sidewalk and there was a puddle on the sidewalk. Now here's what was interesting. I didn't not want to step in the puddle because I didn't want to get my shoes wet. I didn't want to step in the puddle because I didn't want to mess up the puddle because of its majesty. But don't think bright, shiny. That's not what it is. It's purity, concentrated, high definition, just ultimate purity. Unbelievable. So there was someone walking down the sidewalk and they didn't want, there was, like a regular sidewalk. So there was me on the sidewalk, there's a puddle. So there's no room it was a guy for him to walk. So he just kind of stood in the grass and he waited. And I thought to myself, wow. And when I walked over the puddle, then I started to wonder, well, where am I? Then I got a little apprehensive because now I'm looking for people I know, like my circle, like people I see every day. So I began to think more consciously of what am I doing here? But at first I wasn't thinking like that. At first I was just experiencing this. And look, this wasn't whatever I was taught as a kid about heaven, whatever I heard preached, whatever I read in the Bible, this was none of that. So I'm not going to say that I went to heaven, but I know I wasn't on earth. Although it looked more like, or it represented more of what I understand earth to be, but it was so pure and concentrated with high definition of everything that I could see. It was more amazing than earth is. If that makes any sense, I don't know. And so as I'm more apprehensive about like where I am, why I'm here, and just also before I go on, my consciousness was so aware. Like I can't even explain to you what that means of my awareness of myself and everything else. It's like I wasn't fearful because I know everything. I don't know. Anyway, so as I'm becoming more apprehensive, I realize I'm back, which is what also simultaneously made me realize I was gone. I didn't feel like I wasn't in my body when I was experiencing, the puddle and the guy walking and the light that was not in a place, but it just was light around. But then when I felt back in my body, but I didn't travel anywhere. I just knew I was back. Then I knew I was gone at the same time, which was, I don't know. But also my heart was beating before I woke up. Like when I was back, my heart was beating and that started to make me nervous. But then when I woke up, my heart wasn't beating and I wasn't nervous. So I don't know. I made this video to say this. I had to apologize to my wife, even though she was defending something she knew nothing of. It's not like she had this experience and tried to tell me and I didn't want to believe it. But I still apologize because at the end of the day, her point, whether or not she made it good or not, was that you just can't say no to something because you've never experienced it. You can't say something doesn't exist because you never experienced it. Now, why I never experienced this type of thing in the 47 years I've been on this planet, and 2 days after me and her have that conversation, then I experienced it, that was weird. Nobody on earth besides me and her knew this conversation. So why did I think about this? That was weird. Maybe my spirit, maybe it stayed in my spirit, and that's why I had the dream. And that could be something, but my spirit didn't take me where I was. So it's as if something else was aware of the conversation and wanted me to experience something for whatever reason. I don't know. All I know is, look, that is my version of a sweet dream, and maybe it's one of those things you have not because you ask not, because I never asked for a sweet dream. I have a ton of other things that I ask for, a ton of other things I need. I never thought that would come, but it did. And having just had a conversation about it 2 days ago, and to have this experience, you should have seen, it was just regular trees and buildings, but the clarity was out of this world. The vividness, it was just amazing. And I will say, that is my sweet dream. Yeah. If I'm gonna have a sweet dream, that's the kind I want. You can keep the Disney Channel and the Hollywood Steven Spielberg stuff. You can have all that. I'll take what I had because it was amazing. Maybe that's why my heart was racing, because I was so astonished. Because then when I woke up, it wasn't. Maybe I was in transition. I don't know what that was, but I wasn't scared. I was just so conscious. I don't know. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to this craziness. If you have any experience like that, please put it in the comment section. I'm eager to see what your stories are, or what your dreams or visions or out-of-body experience. Again, I don't want to call it that, but I knew I got back even though I didn't know I went anywhere. I don't know. So thank you guys for tuning in. I don't know. We'll see what happens.